Hi guys, in this video I cover the logical NOT operator. I go over the syntax, the truth table, and I show some examples. Let's start out with the syntax. The logical NOT operator is written with a single exclamation mark. It is an unary operator. That means there's only a single operand. And the operand here is the expression. Now the expression can be a simple variable or it can be a condition. When it's a condition, you typically add a pair of parentheses around the operand, around the expression. Now this makes it clear that the logical NOT operator applies to the entire expression and the expression represents the operator. Now let's take a look how applying this operator affects the value of the expression. For that, let's take a look at the truth table. And in this truth table, I have two columns. The first column, some expression, I name it A, and the second column is showing the value after we applied the NOT operator to the expression A. Now, a truth table always deals with values of truth, and values of truth can be either true or false. So on the first column, we define all the different values that A can have. Since we only have values of truth, we only have false, which is expressed as 0. And the other value we have is true, which is expressed as 1. Now let's take a look what happens when A is false. Applying the NOT operator to A will essentially flip false to being true or 1. And if A is true, writing not A will change true to false. This one would be 0. So whenever we apply the NOT operator, it will flip the Boolean value of the expression. Now let's take a look at an example. Let's say I have a variable A and I assign 0 to it. So this example is really closely following the truth table, right? Now that I assign 0 to A, I use A now as a Boolean flag. So this would be the case here. 0 represents false. And now I declare another variable and I initialize it to not A. What will be stored in B? Now we can look at the truth table. If we have false, writing not A would change false to true. So here B would store 1 or true. Let's output B. And I run this program. So we can see here B is 1. Now I applied the NOT operator and this essentially flipped the Boolean value from 0 to true or from 0 to 1. What happens if I initialize A to 1? Again, we only have two values, true and false. The NOT operator flips the value. So if it's 1, it will flip it to 0. Or we can look at the truth table. If it's 1, it will flip it to 0. So I execute this program again. And here you can see, yes, it did flip the value 1 to 0. Let's take a look at another example. Let's say I have a Boolean variable. In Boolean variables, we only have the data type int to express these in C. And I call this variable isEmployee. Now I prompt the user to enter if they are an employee and enter 0 or 1 for true, yes or no. And then I read the input into the variable. Now I want to check if they are an employee. So if isEmployee, they qualify for a discount. And if they are not an employee, they do not qualify for discount. Now let's run this program. Here when I enter 1, it executed the statement in the then block. You qualify for discount. If I enter 0, it executed the statement in the else block. And note that at this point, I have not used the logical not operator at all. Now, what happens if I write the not operator in front of this expression, in front of the variable? So to understand this, first let's take a look to completely understand how this currently works. In this case, it takes the Boolean variable that's stored in the isEmployee value and takes that as a face value for the expression, right? If it's 0, it means false, so this expression is false. If it's anything else, 1 or really any other value, it takes it as true. Now, what happens if we write the not operator in front of it? Now that we know we have either 0 or true, writing the not operator will change the value for the condition, right? If it's true, it will change it to false. If it's false, change it to true. How does this change affect the two blocks here? Essentially means if this was true, we executed the then block, but now when this is true, applying the not operator, it will change to false. So that means when originally we executed the statement in the then block, now with the not operator in front of the condition here, we will execute the then block. And if this one isEmployee stores 0, which is false, applying the not operator will change the condition here from false to true. And if this originally was false, originally we executed the statement in the then block, but now we changed the value with the not operator, so we would execute the statement in the then block. So I just executed the program and showed you the two examples when we entered 0 and 1. Now let's demonstrate this again. When I enter 1, I do not qualify for a discount because this not operator changed the condition, right? And if I run this again and I say I'm not an employee, now I qualify for a discount. So essentially applying the not operator flips the two blocks, how they are executed. Let's take a look at another example. Let's say we have some number, and this number can be anything. I don't make it for the user input, but you might as well write an input statement and read that in from the user. But to keep this short, I just initialize it directly. Now let's say we have a condition. If number is positive, we don't really want to do anything if it's positive, but we want to do something in the other case. And here I keep it simple. Number is negative. On this case, it could be really, I add a larger equal statement so that it's really truly negative and not just 0 and or negative. So when I have something like this, when I have a condition, I don't really have anything that I want to execute in the then block, but I do have some statements that I want to execute if the condition is false, if it's not the case, right? What you can do in this case, use the logical not operator. So I showed you before how it swaps or flips the value here that is evaluated, and then we can essentially swap the two blocks. This applies here very well as well. So I write the not operator. Now I don't just have a single variable, I have a condition. So write the pair of parentheses around it so that it's clear that this not operator applies to the entire condition. And since I changed now the value, so when number, let's say number is 5, 5 is larger or equal to 2, this would be true. So if this is true, I would execute the then block. But now with the not operator, I would execute the else block. So what I can do is move this over and leave the else block empty. And since the else block is empty, I can remove it as well. And now let's execute this. Still get prompted for the employee example, but I didn't get any further output. Now let's change this to -5. I enter something for the employee. And here I can see I get now an output for -5 is negative. So what happened here is that I used the not operator to swap the two blocks, else and then. And since I didn't use anything in the then block, I could move the statements from the else block to the then block and then get rid of the else completely. Now, whenever you have the not operator, most of the time you can simplify the condition as well. So it will always change the condition that you have to the opposite. So if we have a range, for example, here we have number, we have negative values all the way to 0, all the way to positive values, 100 and beyond. And the condition here that we have is number is larger or equal to 0. So it would be anything from here and beyond to the right. And applying the not operator, we do not want anything within this range, right? We don't want anything that is 0 or larger than 0. So what we really want is something less than 0. And by looking at this, if it's the opposite, we can simplify this to change it to anything where number is less than 0. I hope this gives you an understanding how to use the not operator. Most of the time, again, it's used in conditions, but you can use it as part of an assignment too, like I did up here. And also note that when you simply want to change a condition or change two blocks from the then block and the else blocks, if you want to swap the two, you can just apply the not operator in front of it. But also know that when you apply the not operator to a condition, most of the time you can simplify the condition, that you don't need the not operator at all. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you for watching.